Good morning, everyone. It's 11 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the North Central Texas SolSmart informational webinar. So first off, thank you everyone for joining and welcome. I'm Christina Ronneberg, an Air Quality Planner with the North Central Texas Council of Governments, and we're excited to be working with North Central Texas municipalities on SolSmart to help grow solar-friendly practices in the region with the ultimate goal of improving local air quality. Before starting, I'm going to give a quick rundown of who you'll be hearing from today. First, it will be Philip Krajcik with the Meister Consulting Group. He'll be discussing the program and the application process. Philip will be followed by presentations from the 4 cities who are currently participating in SolSmart. They will speak to why they chose to participate, some of their solar goals, and some solar accomplishments, and advice that they have to other cities. It will be City of Plano with Yarkis Lewis, followed by City of Denton with Tabitha Millsop, then City of Cedar Hill with Dewey Vu, and then City of Kennedale with Rachel Roberts. Finally, I will give a quick recap of what are the resources that NCTCOG will be providing to participating cities. There will be opportunities for Q&A after Philip's presentation, and then following the 4 city presentations, and then at the very end of today's webinar. So now for our first presenter, Philip Krajcik. He is a consultant with the Meister Consulting Group.
Hi, everyone. Christina, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity to talk today about the SolSmart program. I'm going to briefly take control here so I can advance to our slides. Essentially, SolSmart is a national designation program that was launched just April of last year, so it's relatively new, and it's funded by the Department of Energy through the Sunshot Initiative. We're basically founded to recognize communities that have taken key steps to reduce solar soft costs and address local barriers to solar energy, and to foster the growth of mature solar markets in their jurisdictions. We do this both through recognition and technical assistance. To give some background on why we set the program up the way we did, we have gone through the country interviewing stakeholders about what are the common barriers they find to solar in their communities, and we find that when we have these discussions, we find that high upfront cost comes up the most frequently in our discussions. So this program, the Solar Outreach Partnership had all these interviews, Meister Consultants Group, the Solar Foundation, NREL, and others asked these questions, and we found that it was really important to be addressing the upfront cost of solar, as well as education on solar opportunities in communities and ways that local governments can lend policy support. So as you all may be aware, there's been a dramatically falling cost of solar installations within the U.S. Essentially, the prices have come down between 2010 and 2015 by about 43%, but there's still quite a bit of costs associated with local government processes, associated with the filing for permits and the inspection process, and soft costs associated with customer acquisition and financing and other components of the solar business. So as you can see, the blue bar here, the lighter blue is the soft cost component, and the darker bar is the materials and hardware. And as materials and hardware have come down, soft costs have also come down, but they still remain nearly 2/3 of the installed cost. So as I said, less time required by local government employees will lead to a lower cost structure for solar generally, which will lead to better solar deployment in your community. Local governments have quite a bit of impact over an array of topics and policy opportunities, so they can significantly reduce the cost of solar. And there's a substantial room for improvements for a number of communities around the U.S. So the SolSmart program comes in to offer no-cost technical assistance funded by the DOE, and any community that pursues designation through the SolSmart is eligible for this assistance. Technical assistance can help governments reduce those costs, spur their local solar market, and achieve designation. The topics that we address are permitting, planning, zoning, and development review, inspections processes, construction codes, solar rights, utility engagement, community engagement, and market development and finance. And we also have this opportunity, which you've heard from NCTCOG. They are actually serving as a SolSmart advisor, which is a temporary role that they have to help all of you with your solar policy initiatives and questions and help you achieve SolSmart designation in the process. And they have shown their expertise through a competitive solicitation around the entire country and shown that the work that they did in previous rounds of the Sunshot Initiative put them in a very good position to provide expert technical assistance, which will be supplemented by the technical assistance offered by the SolSmart team members nationally. This deployment is expected to last approximately 6 months, and as I said, it's no cost to the communities that are being supported by NCTCOG. SolSmart designation comes at 3 different levels: bronze, silver, or gold. And it enables you to get significant national recognition. We have a really qualified and experienced comms team that is able to really amplify the message about how solar-friendly your community has become and how much progress you've made and some of the really interesting and innovative projects you've implemented. So this sort of opportunity is really unique to our program, where we can amplify this with the national conferences that you all attend and key press releases and more. And then we have currently 68 designees in SolSmart from a range of geographies across the U.S., counties, cities, towns, from markets that have significant solar backing at the state level and markets that do not. And designation is essentially within reach to any community that wants to pursue it, because the technical assistance is very much targeted towards ensuring that anyone can, regardless of your background, you should be able to get to at least the bronze level with our help. So here's an example of one of the events where we recognize communities. Each community gets a plaque that is a repurposed solar panel. Well, at least the original ones were repurposed solar panels that show your designation level and could be hung in municipal offices. And then finally, this slide is a little bit outdated, but it shows the geographic distribution of cities that have achieved designation. As you may be aware, Plano, Texas, Austin, and San Antonio are all designees. Our map only shows Austin, I believe, but if you go to solsmart.org, you can see the list of all the communities. And we put this up just to show that there's a really strong geographic distribution. There's a whole bunch more in the Southwest that have been added to our list of designees since this map was generated. But we have communities across the Great Plains, the Northeast, the Southeast, Florida, Midwest, the Northwest now as well, and it's not really just a program for California and Massachusetts. And so that's all I have to say really about SolSmart. I'd be happy to take questions.
If anyone has questions, please type them into the WebEx panel. And if there aren't any time, you can type them in at any point. So we're going to move on to our next presenter, who is Yarkis Lewis. He's the Sustainability Project Supervisor with the City of Plano.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I suppose I'd like to start with the end in mind. This picture is from this past March. Our City Councilwoman, Mayor Pro Tem Lisa Smith, accepted our Bronze Award at the National League of Cities Congressional City meeting in Washington, D.C. So for us, the reason we chose to pursue SolSmart, in 2015, some of you may be familiar with the Star Communities program, and by going through that program, of which the top level is 5 stars, and we were a 4-star city, and we plan to resubmit in 2019 and hope to achieve 5 stars at that time. But as a part of that process, one of the challenges for us was the category of climate and energy. But solar was a particular strength here in the city of Plano. So when SolSmart first came around with the early adopter program, we applied for that and was awarded early adopter status in 2016. There were just two cities, Plano and the city of Brownsville. And so from that, we wanted to benchmark just how strong our solar policies and programs were. So we went through the process and this past year received the bronze designation. Our plans are, the two challenges that we had with the application related to prerequisites, and our planning department and our building inspections department feel that we can accomplish those two prerequisites. So we're going to resubmit for the gold designation. We actually had a high number of points in terms of the overall application, but we missed out on two of the prerequisites in order to achieve gold. So for Plano, one of the things that really helped us was knowing the community and what was going on in the community. So we had a lot of activity in the residential arena. Plano Solar Advocates is a cooperative buying program, and they've had 2 rounds of residential cooperative purchases over the last 2 or 3 years. We also have a smart energy loan program that enables residents to improve their homes and add renewable energy, after they've done energy efficiency. A relatively new program for us is the Great Update Rebate. This program allows residents to invest in improving their homes overall, and they get points also if they add solar to their home. The Green Business Certification Program is aimed at small to medium businesses, and there again with that program, you get points if you add renewable energy to your facility or to your operation. And then lastly, this was not part of the original application, but will be as part of the gold application. You know, Toyota has moved here, and they have installed 8.9 megawatts, which makes it the largest installation in Texas. So we're excited about working with the COG to achieve the 2 prerequisites that we have left, and hopefully in about 6 months we will be a gold designee. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Yarkis. Our next presenter is Tabitha Millsop. She is the business analyst with the City of Denton. And Tabitha, you should now have control of the slides.
Good morning. I manage the solar portion of our GreenSense incentive program. Denton Municipal Electric has been owned by the residents of Denton since 1905. DME is a national leader in public power, providing 40% wind energy to every customer while maintaining competitive and reliable rates. DME is currently pursuing the Renewable Denton Plan, an industry-leading initiative to increase renewable power from 40 to a minimum of 88% by 2019. Here's the list of awards that DME has been honored to receive. The City of Denton is pursuing the Silver designation to accomplish enhancing the solar application process, train and educate our utility, permitting, and fire departments, and then reducing the application and rebate process time for our customers. We believe that an enhanced application process that combines DME's solar PV application with the building permit application will cut down on processing time as well as paperwork and confusion for our customers. The City of Denton revised its Energy Save rebate program, which included all energy efficient upgrades, into the GreenSense incentive program in 2009. In doing so, the solar PV incentive was budgeted separately, which allowed for more rebate funds to be awarded for solar, thus resulting in more installations. One of the things that I recommend is to get all departments on board. For cities who are looking to move towards being more solar friendly, it's really important to pull all the departments together, have one big meeting, and communicate your vision and plan. This will definitely help move your city towards accomplishing becoming more solar friendly. Oh, that's all I have.
My name is Dewey Vu. I'm the environmental manager with the city of City Hill. I'm going to talk to you about our pursuance of designation as well. Before I talk about that, I want to just to talk briefly about Cedar Hill. We are in the southern portion of the DFW Metroplex. We're still a fairly small city. We're an old city, and we have varying elevation changes, which makes us a little unique in this part of Texas, where we're the highest point. If you draw a straight line from the Red River to the Gulf of Mexico, we're the highest point in elevation. So that provides a lot of challenges and opportunities with how we build and develop. We are very proud of our green space. We actually have a percentage goal, which is very different from most cities, where they have a acreage goal to how much green space. We actually have a percentage goal. We're trying to reach 20% of open space and green space, and we are very proud of that. Cedar Hill is also incredibly diverse. The majority of our population is of the minority, and we are very proud of that. And we believe our diversity is the catalyst to many of our initiatives, and it all builds on Cedar Hill's philosophy of valuing green space, and it really is a culture, and it's to show that it really doesn't matter the size of your city or your demographics. It really just is dependent on the culture of the city, on where things will be focused on, and we focus on environment sustainability. And some of these slides are just to show our elevation changes and our open space, our green space, because that is a value in Cedar Hill. And solar is just one part of the culture in Cedar Hill. And in Cedar Hill, we do have solar panel systems actually on our government center. We have 480 solar panels that generates 152 kilowatts. It's already saved us a lot of money. We actually procured these through grant funding. We are really good at spending other people's money, and we are very aggressive on pursuing these grants. Some photos of our solar panel system. Here's a close-up, and also provide us opportunities to be mentioned in some local newspapers. And on top of that, we do have a vertical axis wind turbine. Might as well, since we are very proactive in our renewable energy. We have a vertical axis wind turbine that is grid connected and does help generate electricity. And these are just some of the initiatives that we have. We also have electric vehicles, multifamily recycling, green waste recycling. Like I said, it's just one part of our environmental sustainability initiatives. We actually have a interactive and live monitor on how much energy we've produced. We've already saved over $100,000 just by having our solar panels. So on the permitting end, we allow solar panels across the board when it comes to accessory use. We also allow that for primary use as well. They just need to obtain a conditional use permit. And we're trying to make this process even easier. We're going digital in September. And typically with our permitting turnaround, it's usually 24 hours. We try to aim for as short of a turnaround time as possible. So Cedar Hill, we are pursuing gold designation. We're working with the COG. They've developed a work plan for us, which has been so helpful, so very helpful. With SolSmart designation, it does help identify Cedar Hill as a leader in environmental sustainability. Like I said, it doesn't matter the size of your demographics. It's just a matter of culture. And it allows us to leverage these requirements and compare it to other designated cities. Like, for example, if once Plano gets designated, we can compare it to what Plano is doing and try to improve our policies. And of course, we do have an existing sustainability plan. We've we're planning on updating, and we're going to incorporate SolSmart and all of its policies, initiatives into the sustainability plan as much as we can. And with that, I want to say thank you.
Great. Great. Thank you, Dewey. We now have our last city presenter, and it is Rachel Roberts. She's the Community Development Director and City Planner with the City of Kennedale. And I just want to remind you that after her presentation, we will have another opportunity for Q&A. So if you have questions, please type them in.
All right, well, thanks, everyone. Just a little bit about Kennedale. We are a small city located just outside of Fort Worth. We're small in land and population. We're about 6.2 square miles, just under 8,000 in population. And so we, of course, have limited resources. We have, as you'll see on the slide, just one building inspector. She does all of our building inspections for any building permit, and she also does all of our plan reviews. So SolSmart is important to us because we want to make sure that our residents and our property owners have easy access to solar energy equipment if they want it. We don't want to put up inadvertently any obstacles in their way. And then we want to make sure that we're using best practices and that solar in our community is safe. And through the SolSmart designation process, that means we're getting a thorough review of our codes and our processes, so we know we're going to be using the best practices. And then it helps us stay informed. As I mentioned, we have one building inspector, and I'm the only planner on staff. And the two of us keep pretty busy. We don't have time to stay up on the latest best practices and trends. And so we're relying on NCTCOG and the SolSmart process to help us keep up to the latest knowledge and best practices. Okay, so we're really excited about this whole process. We're excited about the technical review, getting experts to help us with our codes and to look for opportunities for improvement. In Kennedale, it's very important from the top all the way down to always be looking at ways to improve things for our community, and that's our processes from the customer side. But again, we don't always have time to research that, so SolSmart's going to help us with that. And we're excited about finding ways to make not just our codes better, but also our processes. And I keep harping on that, but that's a really big thing with management in Kennedale. We want it to be everything as simple and easy as possible. And then one thing we're really, really excited about is getting help in spreading the word to our community. I mentioned we have one inspector and one planner. We have one communications person. She's also our city secretary. So she doesn't have a lot of time to help people in our community learn that solar resources are available and that it's pretty simple to get solar in Kennedale. So we're really excited about having those opportunities through working through the SolSmart designation to get that help. Two things we're really proud of having done so far in the process is expanding permitting by right. Just like in Cedar Hill, you can now use solar energy equipment as an accessory use by right in any zoning district in Kennedale. And that just happened this past Monday night. It got approved at council, so we're very excited about that. And then we have streamlined our permitting process. We are now guaranteed to get it out within 3 business days, and we think that's pretty good for having one building inspector. But of course, if there's any way to make it faster through the SolSmart process, we're gonna strive for that. And we are striving for silver designation. And then if I could offer any advice, some of you are probably already doing this. You're probably already having your permitting staff and your fire department in regular communication. But just echoing what Tabitha said, it's very important to make sure all relevant departments are involved. Just to give you an example, when we took this ordinance to City Council on Monday, this was actually the second time we had taken it to them. When we went before, we had council members who were really concerned about making sure our fire departments had training and that our regulations would keep our firefighters safe in the event of a fire around solar energy equipment. Well, we knew we had codes in place through our fire code, but we didn't have those details, so we couldn't really answer all their questions, and we had to delay the ordinance. Turns out we did have everything in place that we needed, but we weren't able to tell them that. And then finally, just know your community's aesthetic concerns or any other concerns that they may have so that you can address those in your regulations. That way, your community members will feel comfortable and safe using solar, but also it's very important to make sure that your elected and appointed officials know that you have addressed all the concerns so they can safely support solar and not worry about getting pushback from the community on that. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel. So we do have a couple of questions that came in. So the first one is about the basic requirements of SolSmart. As Philip mentioned earlier, the SolSmart is composed of 8 categories. 2 of them are foundational. So the first one is permitting, and then the other one is planning, zoning, and development. And so within those categories, there are a couple of prerequisites. Most of them have to do with making sure that there's a permitting checklist and process that's available on websites. Some of the other prerequisites are making sure that accessory solar is allowed by right in all or most zones, depending on what designation level is being sought. So yeah, most of the basics of the program fall into the permitting and planning, zoning, and development categories.
I think your categorization was right on. I think there's 2 ways to look at the question about what's required of communities. There's a threshold requirements for participation, and then there's a threshold for actually receiving recognition through the designation program. All that's required for a community that wants to participate is really just to submit our online combined intake/application form. It basically gives you a chance to baseline your solar policy and get a sense of where you stand relative to all the credits in the program. And the only requirement for that is that you need to check off a box to certify, to vouch for the fact that you are authorized to apply on behalf of your community. And then once you've submitted that, then the requirements for designation that Christina outlined would apply.
We received another question about what are the challenges, and can NCTCOG and the Solar Foundation, SolSmart, help working with HOAs that try to prevent solar. So there is Texas House Bill 362 that specifically forbids HOAs from prohibiting solar energy installations. But in addition to that, we can certainly help work with any HOA in particular in communicating about the House Bill 362 and helping to resolve any issues. I think there's another question that we received. Oh, so Philip, I think you can help with this one. So to the cities that allow solar panels by right, are there exceptions to that, or can they go anywhere on any property? For example, we don't allow them to face public streets due to aesthetics. Would that be considered a barrier?
That's a great question, and when we talk about solar by right as an accessory use, what we're looking for is really focused on whether or not the process for determining the determination of the permit is something that involves discretion or not. So you can have any number of dimensional or aesthetic requirements. You might have requirements on screening of solar panels, not to recommend that you would do so, but you might have screening requirements or height requirements or some specific requirements codified in your zoning code. We're just looking for municipalities, when we say we're looking for solar by right as an accessory use, we're looking for it to be codified in the code that it's allowed under certain conditions in certain locations, and that those conditions are outlined and that it's not a discretionary process by the permitting staff. So it wouldn't be a special permit, but it would be a standard permit.
Great. Thank you, Philip. We're now going to continue with the presentation, and we'll have another opportunity for more questions at the very end. So now I'm quickly going to talk about the North Central Texas Council of Governments and why we're interested in air quality. So NCTCOG is one of the 24 Council of Governments that operates in Texas, and we work on a number of quality of life issues like air quality. So NCTCOG, we represent the 10 counties in the DFW area that are in non-attainment for ozone, and because of this, we work on a variety of programs to help reduce emissions. Recently, some of these programs, including SolSmart, have focused on solar. For the next 5 to 6 months, we'll be working in partnership with Meister to provide assistance to local communities that are interested in SolSmart. Specifically, some of what we'll be providing is assistance with the application materials and helping with the submission itself. So this is for cities that have not yet committed to the program. We will evaluate existing solar policies and processes. We will host a couple of trainings in the next few months, which will help cities achieve certain criteria. And then we'll work one-on-one with cities on any specific criteria that you'd like to pursue. One of the main resources that we're going to be bringing to this effort are the SolSmart web pages that are housed on our Go Solar Texas website. So what you can see here on the SolSmart landing page is we provide information about the SolSmart program itself. So if you click through the About SolSmart, you'll find information on the program as well as how to apply and additional resources. We include a map. So on this, you can see that it lists the four, and it will list all cities that are participating in the program. As you can see, currently there are 4. On this map, we'll include information on the number of installations, the total KW installed, the designation that each municipality is seeking, and any other goals that they would like to list. This map will continue to be updated throughout the life of the project. And then, as Philip mentioned earlier, so the program is made up of 8 criteria categories, the 2 foundational and then the 6 special topics. We've put together web pages like the one you see here on permitting for each of the 8 criteria categories. So this is really a great resource because you can see on the left-hand side, we list resources and best practices that have either been developed regionally, so during previous efforts that we did with Solar Ready 2, and on the right-hand side, you'll see local examples. So for instance, we already have local examples from Plano and Denton, so this is really a great resource for us to list all local examples and best practices. What you can also see, this slide should also be showing the number of points that are assigned to each criteria. The SolSmart web pages are part of the larger Go Solar Texas website, and big picture of the website includes valuable information for all types of audiences, so for the public, for community members, for local government, utilities, and more. So, and we also have information on the basics of solar energy, so this might be good, helpful for you if you're a planner who's new to solar, or if you're really trying to direct some of your constituents to a good resource on solar. We have information about how solar has grown in the region, as well as basics of solar. Specifically, we have a portal that's been tailored specifically to local governments. So this includes best management practices, information on incentives and how to finance solar installations, cost-benefit analysis tools, guidelines for starting community solar projects. So the point of this slide is to let all interested cities know that because we've already developed a lot of resources that can be used to satisfy a number of criteria, you'll be able to meet a variety of SolSmart criteria simply by linking to our webpage from your solar site or by copying and pasting already developed resources. So some of these criteria, they fall in both the solar rights and the market development and finance categories. The first one is solar rights. So that's to conduct review of state policies related to protecting rights of property owners to install solar and solar system owners' right to sunlight on their property, and then make this information available to residents. So this gets to the question that was earlier asked about HOAs. So some of the review that has already been completed, it shows that there's HB 362, which prevents HOAs from preventing solar, and then SB 1626, which puts limits on when developers can prohibit solar. The next criteria that participating cities can get credit for is Market Development and Finance 1. So this is providing resources on active solar installers and local incentives. Resources to help find solar installers can be found on the Choosing a Retail Electric Provider and Certified Installer page. So some of the recommended resources are the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners, Locator, and then OnCore's Take a Load Off provider search. So even if you're in your municipality, you aren't exactly in OnCore's territory, this is still a really good source to find installers who have been vetted. Then as far as local incentives, they can be found on the Available Incentives webpage, and they include the property tax exemption, Solar Energy Devices franchise tax exemption. In addition to these two, the website provides a summary of local and federal incentives, including the investment tax credit, OnCore's incentives, buyback programs offered through retail electric providers, and more. The next criteria is MDF3. So this is providing information to consumers about different forms of financing of a system. And so what we include on our payment options page on our website is a comparison between purchasing, leasing, and using a power purchase agreement. It also goes into detail on PACE financing, solarized programs, and a number of helpful webinars, which we put on last summer during our under our grant with SECO. The next criteria that will be satisfied if you link to our website is, So what's different with these next two criteria, both of them are in the community engagement category, is that in order to get points for these two, you won't be able to simply link, but with these we provide a lot of resources that will help you reach them. So this first one, it's Community Engagement 5A, so that's to host a solar workshop, open to the general staff or local governments. And for this one, we've already developed a presentation, materials, promotion information that you'll be able to use to host a meeting of your own. And then for CE5B, this is to create and distribute educational materials to community or local government group events. And for this, we have solar-powered flashlights, pens, bags, a number of fact sheets. Some of them are specific to solar in Texas. Some of them are specific to energy in Texas that you can distribute and receive credit for CE5B. The last resource that I want to mention today is that we'll be putting on 2 trainings in the next couple of months. The first one will be a cross-training for permitting and inspection staff, which will discuss planning and zoning best practices, and through this one, cities will be able to satisfy the requirements to meet PZD 9 and I-1, and the second training will be for fire and safety staff, which will satisfy P9. We haven't set the dates for either of these yet. We're going to wait until we have a list of all the committed communities to participate in SolSmart, at which point we will coordinate amongst them to set a date. The presentation portion of the webinar is now complete, so we have another opportunity for questions.
Sure. There were a couple questions earlier in the session about whether SolSmart has any low and moderate income community components to it, whether there's coordination with the Solar in Your Community Challenge, and a question specifically for Plano about its challenges overcoming some of the prerequisites for SolSmart, and how we might engage in utility rate cases. And I just wrote back about the LMI component of SolSmart, but for everyone's benefit, there are several credits within SolSmart that relate to communities achieving initiatives that help engage low and moderate income families in enjoying the benefits of solar. And so that's something that, because of the expertise of the technical assistance team in SolSmart, we're happy to engage on and help people think through their strategies for those sorts of efforts. There are a number of technical assistance providers in SolSmart who are also providing technical assistance for the Solar in Your Community Challenge, which is focused on LMI solar. And then in terms of working with cities and towns related to rate cases, SolSmart cannot lobby on state PUC policy or utility policy, so we will not provide input and advice for what a town should do related to the rate case. We would not directly intervene. However, if a city or a town wanted some information, they could always ask the SolSmart technical assistance providers for some factual information that might help them understand some of the issues that are at play in the rate case and try to come up with their own decision about how to engage with that process.
Great. Well, so on this last slide is the contact information for all the presenters today. So if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us with questions. If your city or county is interested in participating in SolSmart, please contact me, Christina Ronneberg, at the email on this slide. And thank you, everyone, for participation. Special thanks to all of our presenters. And the webinar is now over.